Good morning everyone, here we have the MG4 standard. This is the lowest version and least spec version you can have of the MG4. 50 kWh battery, I think 51 and 50.4 can be used. And today I'm just driving a long distance trip. There's no meaning to it, so when it comes to going somewhere, I'm just going somewhere. I want to experience the car. How is it? How is charging? How is the consumption? Everything. And I want to see how the car is on a long distance trip. Endurance test. And I have driven already 140 kilometers. We'll look at the stats in a second. And I had some problems. We talk about that as well. I experienced the light and stuff, that the heat and everything, and the preheating in the morning. We talk about it all in a second. But I'm here now charging in Passberg somewhere. I wanted to go further, but I didn't get there. The range display is not very accurate. It doesn't go down very well because at 50% it showed me way more kilometers that I have driven to the 50%. I only drove 78 kilometers to 50% and it showed me 110 or more, 120 kilometers of range. So it went down and down and down and down very, very fast. First, let's look at our stats. 146 kilometers driven, consumption 278. It's cold today. It's minus 1.5 degrees, and it was even on the highway, it was wet. Even for a tiny bit, it was snowing. But now it's dry, it should be fine. I'm charging right now with 68 kilowatt, and this is the power that I got right in the beginning. So I plugged in and it went up to 69 and it's still at that. I plugged in at 17%. It tells me to 951. That would be in 70 minutes to full. I'm not going to charge to full. I'm going to charge to 80% or so. My heating is at 25 degrees because at 24 degrees it's still cold in here when you drive. Seat heating turns automatically off after a while. It gets lower and lower. I think that's normal in other cars too, but it doesn't show that it gets lower. And 25 degrees is still not warm in here. So it's not, oh my God, it's hot. And here you can see I've used 40 kilowatt hours and 5 kilowatt hours for AC and stuff. I had one thing in the middle when it snowed a tiny bit. Since then I cannot use the adaptive cruise control. I stopped and I scratched off the ice, but it still doesn't work, so maybe it's somewhere different. I will try again. I fixed it, cruise control works again. I just locked the car, and when I unlocked the car again it worked, because that's, I guess, is almost a reset or something like this. I'm driving on. I charged to 80%, so from 17 to 80% took 37 minutes. At the end it charged with around 40 kilowatt. It's horrible weather right now since it's not snowing, but the street is a bit wet, and so the whole salt goes on the salt goes on the windshield, and then you have to clean, and then the next car drives by and you have to clean again, so I'm not cleaning. Yeah, I'm driving 110 because I think that's a better cruising speed for this car on the highway with this weather. Otherwise it takes too long. So I think because of the charging power that's not extremely high and the high consumption because of cold and a bit of wetness, I say 110 is better. Consumption goes down a bit, not too much. I will show you the infotainment system and everything later, and I will also tell you everything, how the car behaves, how to use it if there's any problems, and what is good, and so on. And the range display sadly is not very good. I told you that in the beginning it showed me 330 kilometers, and then I drove a bit and it went down, and 50% it didn't show the 50% that I drove. But at 17% it looked more real, and then when I charged to 80% it showed again 170 or 180 kilometers, which is not true for what I was driving the 2 hours before. So I'm guessing at 70% now I should have 125 kilometers of range or so. At that speed, maybe a bit more. Charging again with 65 kilowatt, around 60 kilowatt, but I arrived here with 25%, so that's okay. Voltage is pretty low with 360 volt. That's low voltage for a battery. Yeah, the car got a bit of a beating, a lot of salt. What tires do I have? What are those? 17-inch, 215/50. It's not an ugly car. It's really okay. I tested the light this morning and it was really okay. Maybe a bit too high, but you can put it lower. So high for other people that they get blinded. I think it's a bit high for them, but that's fine. You can adjust it. The high beams are okay. I tried to use the auto high beams, but it didn't work in the morning. So they were on automatically when I turned on the light, and then I turned them off once. So just with on the steering wheel, and then they didn't turn on anymore, even though in the settings it was on. I don't know. The trunk is good space. That's totally fine, and there's a second floor, but that's not very deep, just a few centimeters. Let's try the rear seats here. Ooh. Not too much space, but it's also not bad. So this seat is the front seat is in position for me. I'm 180 centimeters, 6 feet. But this I'm touching the front seat, but this very cushiony here. That's no problem at all. And I can fit under the seat, even though the seat is on the lowest position. Totally fine. Headroom is also here. All fine. Do we have a middle? Do we? No, we don't have a middle console. We have one USB-A here in the front and a tiny little pocket, and there's no light here in the rear. It's just in the front. It's totally dark here in the back. But overall, it's okay. The seat is totally fine, even after driving 300 kilometers or so. I'm totally comfortable. Steering wheel is also fine, good form, good grip, no problem. We have a lock-unlock button here, window control. Here we have our mirror control. Here with the light switch that I just said, where you can put it lower. Steering wheel has all these buttons. We're gonna look at it in a second. And also here in the middle, we have an armrest that cannot be moved. And we have an armrest in the door that has a good height. I'm sitting comfortable here in here. Steering wheel can be adjusted in, out, up and down. I have to film up here because the sun is shining in so strong. On the left we have our cruise control settings. Left and right is the distance. Up and down is the speed. When you press long, it's 5 kilometers an hour steps. And when the cruise control is off, on top means resume. And here you turn it on. If you want self-steering, you have to go into the system settings. You have a favorite button here and a voice command. On the right you have a music control here, of course volume and next song, previous song, another favorite button. Then your button to change the view in here, because it can be either, where are we? Why is it not working? Also I have to press it away. Can be your trip info or your tire pressure and the voltage of your 12-volt battery and brightness level, and even at night, even though if I have it in dark, it's still too bright. Overspeed threshold and next service. But we have our accumulated info from last charge and from start. Other than that, you have a bit more info. You always have your state of charge and your range in here, your speed, the time. The main screen, we have an on-off button for the climate, and then defrost in the front, in the rear, home button and volume and the hazards. Up here you can always see the climate, and when you swipe down you have your favorite button favorite buttons where you can switch off the lane assist, for example. On the home screen you have your climate here, your music, charging, and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You can get in here as well. There's no button here, but you can switch the home button to get back. In the charging screen, you see your current charging power, 47 kilowatt, and that you are at 65%, the range, and how long to 100%. And we have an energy consumption window for the last 50 kilometers, your average consumption for the trip, energy flow, and that I used for this trip so far, 68 kilowatt hours for driving, 6 kilowatts for the AC, and 2 kilowatts I regenerated. And the rest, then we have the climate. Climate looks like this. It's fine. It's just a few settings here. And for whatever reason, when you change the temperature, the AC turns on automatically. I don't know why. Then you have some settings here, and you have your vehicle settings for driving, your drive mode, which I also have on my steering wheel favorite button. Your MG Pilot, your regen can be set here, one pedal driving. This is where you set your favorite buttons. Your lighting, here's the auto high beam that's on, and safety. Here we have a gear selector and a place to put your phone. This car doesn't have wireless charging. Down here is a USB-A and a USB-C, a big pocket down here and a big pocket in here, and a little glove box. Let's talk how the MG4 standard drives. Well, overall, so normal driving, totally fine. So cornering felt good, driving on the country road felt good. Driving on the highway here is nice. Now I'm driving 130. It's not loud in here. It's comfortable. The suspension is not most comfortable, but totally fine. So driving it is a pleasure. I'm enjoying it a lot. There are a few things that are weird when it comes to driving. Number one is the cruise control. Cruise control holds the speed fine. It's totally okay, and you have 3 distances, and the biggest distance is not that far, but that's fine. But it's the behavior. I notice when you drive close to a car, you slow down a tiny bit, it gets closer, and then suddenly it brakes very strong. It's just uncomfortable, and it doesn't matter what drive mode. I tested that. That's weird. The other thing is the MG Pilot. Let's turn it on. MG Pilot, so you can see for yourself. It moves the whole time, so it doesn't stand still. It's the whole time doing this. And at 130 it feels like I'm doing this all the time, and it even sometimes drives somewhere else where it shouldn't drive, so I have to hold it back. And this is the 4th time I'm using it, and every time it was uncomfortable and not safe, so I didn't feel, oh, it's doing its thing. It's like now, it just steered extremely strong to the left and then to the right. And it's just horrible. It's like it's steering against me. Go off! It's steering totally wrong, and it's not the sun. It was before without the sun too. This is not it. It's not good. I'm sorry. Can't be used. A traffic sign recognition, I have it on, but it thinks I'm on the highway and the speed limit is 30. Yeah, okay. There's just some things that you don't have in this car and that don't work very comfortable or amazing. That's just what you get for a price like this. This car starts at 32,500 euros. The color that it has, it's then 33. This is what you get, and then you have different steps. You can have a bigger battery and more features and stuff like this, and up to the all-wheel drive with the over 400 horsepower. Yeah, but overall you just feel there's stuff missing that is a bit sad. No navigation, that the behavior of the climate is a bit weird, that it has to be set to a very high temperature to get warm, and every time you change the temperature the AC gets on. Yes, it's nice that you can see the charging power. It's nice that they have a battery heater. God, I'm blinded here. There is no scheduled climate, so I cannot set it to that every day in the morning at 6:30 when I go to work it should be warm in here. Doesn't exist. But like I said, you can have scheduled battery heating. The lane assist, some people say it's horrible. I don't find it any different than other lane assist. Usually it's all the way how it's programmed, that when you go too far to a line that it pulls you back. But how does it do it? Here it beeps and steers, and it does it very dramatically. In other cars it's just a bit more dramatic here in this car, but I turn it off anyways. And there's a shortcut. That's just fine. There is no rain sensor, there is no backup camera in this car, there are no parking sensors in the front. The mirror doesn't darken when there are cars behind you. This is just because this is standard. This is the lowest feature package of the MG4 that you can have. And I like it that I got this car not fully spec'd. It's nice to see what the cheapest version does and can do. And it already drives great. Driving is fine. Cruise control is okay. Self-steering is awful. And I think it's still missing very important features like scheduled climate. This has to be in there. I'm at the next charger, third charging stop, am I right? Yes. And right now I'm only getting 44 kilowatt and I started at 17% again. I wanted to drive lower, but it didn't work. And I wanted to find a charging station where I could maybe fly the drone and film a bit, nice location and take photos and everything, but I couldn't find anything. One was closed. And then I came here because it was the nearest then. Yeah, 44.1 kilowatt. I drove a bit sporty on the country road now to see how it is when you push it a bit, and it's fun. It doesn't have a lot of power, but it's enough, and the cornering and everything feels good. The suspension is really good. I'm impressed, and the power overall also. So it felt really good driving in the corners and a bit on the country road, accelerate and stuff like this. It always does this, charge door open warning. You have to press it away so you can see info. So we drove almost 400 kilometers. It was 5 hours and 40 minutes, I would say. Average consumption 248 on the last leg from last charge. It doesn't show anymore, but the consumption was a bit lower. That's why all over the consumption got lower. It already reset even though we're just charging. And as you can see, only 43 kilowatt, and it jumps around 41. It's not a consistent thing. We have 2 degrees out there and sunny. It's a bit wet on the road, but not as much, and that's why the consumption is just way better. I drove 130 now from the last charge to here, and it was way better. It's all the weather is the most important thing. Now let's look at the app. In the app you can lock, unlock, you can start the climate like I said, but just for 10 minutes. You see your range, you can do find my car, where it shows you on the map where it is, and it should maybe even blink, or you do it with the key, I can't remember right now. And you can press on the battery symbol and then you see your state of charge. You can do stop charging, you see your charging power, your range. The finishing time is in 1 hour and 20 minutes. You can do scheduled charging, and there's also more. Where was more? In scheduled charging you then have your battery heating, and you can press it to start heating, and you have your scheduled battery heating like I said. And what else do we have? There was the remote control. Travel, you see where you are. Touch point is the next car dealer. Charging management we did, and my profile. And there's the vehicle status. When you press this, car gets scanned, and then you see all kinds of data. Look at that. You can see if everything is closed, if it's unlocked, the tire pressure, voltage of the 12-volt battery, interior temperature and exterior temperature. That's so cool. So my trip is over. I drove 450 kilometers. The consumption is the same as I just showed you. Pretty much, I'm just here a little in the snow. Looks great for the winter endurance test. Yeah, what do I think of this car? Well, it's 2 sides. Driving, really great. Features, a lot of features are missing, and charging I'm not impressed at all. I think that the last charging stop with 40 kilowatt, I think that the battery was too warm, and in the winter, I mean, I'm not sure, I didn't read it out, but before I always got 60 kilowatt at around 20%, then I drove it a bit more sporty, accelerated a few times, and then I only got 40 kilowatt. And before the sporty driving I drove 130, but it's 2 degrees, there shouldn't be a problem. But when I charged the car I never heard a fan. Yes, but overall experience was good. I wouldn't use it for a very long distance drive. The plan in the beginning was that my ID.3 would come this week and I would take this car to Wolfsburg, 730 kilometers. That would have taken a long time. So in a way it's lucky that my ID.3 is a bit delayed. Other than that, the car is fine for a daily driver. I mean, the preheating thing, that's something that's very important to me. I like to get into a warm car in the morning when I go to work, and I don't want to be stressed, oh I have to turn on the heat otherwise it's cold. It's just to do it automatically without me having to think about it. That's just sad, and that's just lazy, because there's nothing hard to program there. It could be in the car or in the app, so that's, and the 10-minute preheating of the cabin is also for nothing. That's my 2 main things that are totally negative. Other things that what I mentioned today are a bit naya, but driving, daily driver on the highway, 130, suspension, power and everything is really good. I'm very impressed. But that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day and take care. Bye.